All right. Thank you so much, Bert, for that. And listen, I would like for our president, if you don't mind, Ms. Teresa Hardy, to introduce our speaker for tonight, and then our speaker will come and greet us.
Okay. Happy New Year to everyone. Happy MLK, happy Emancipation Proclamation. It has been a busy January. I'm so grateful to have all of you come to the criminal justice meeting, our first one for the year. And we are honored to have Mr. Willie Hopkins, who is the Chief Director of the Probation Office here in DeKalb County. We have asked him to come and educate us on what that office does. And then two, we also want to make sure we get a better understanding of the move that actually happened. And that's why we kind of reached out to the office of the probation office to get some clarity. One thing we want to be able to do is, one, hear from the people who do the work, let them educate us, and then figure out what we can do to support each other here in the criminal justice committee. Mr. Hopkins and others, we have been asking other people throughout the year to come in that's relative to criminal justice. As you know, we are an advocate for criminal justice reform, but we do want to make sure that everyone kind of understands the justice system as it is, but that we understand that there are some injustices that we can actually advocate on behalf. So with that, we're going to give Mr. Willie Hopkins the floor, and he can come as he needs to, and we can do Q&A after he finishes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Ms. Teresa. Thank you so much for the invitation to come before this committee tonight to speak about what we do in DeKalb County Probation. First, I'd like to just introduce myself, give you a little bit of background about me, and then I'll go into our operation, our day-to-day operation. Again, my name is Willie Hopkins, where I get to serve the citizens of DeKalb County as Chief Probation Officer. And when I say serve, I don't take that lightly. I started my career back in 1991 with the Department of Corrections in North Carolina. So I've been in the correction business about 30 plus years now. So I got a real experience in this business, but the experience I've obtained here in DeKalb has been second to none. But first, I'd like to give you some joys of my life, and that's my wife of 20 plus years. I have three daughters, three lovely daughters. One is in North Carolina. She just obtained her doctorate degree, and she's teaching at Fayetteville State, my alma mater in North Carolina. And I have a middle daughter that's at Kennesaw State at this time. And I have my hero, which is my 16-year-old, which she's a special needs child that have a lot of challenges, but she don't want for anything. She don't cry for anything. She's just giving me my strength to keep me going each and every day. So that's my hero, to keep me doing what I do for her, along with my Lord and Savior. I also serve as a deacon at Global Impact Christian Ministries as well here in Stockbridge. With my career in North Carolina, I went pretty quick. I left North Carolina back in 1998. I left as a sergeant, and one of my highlights there was I was a hostage negotiator, the first hostage negotiator for the state of North Carolina. Then I matriculated here in the state of Georgia. I followed my wife, and she was already here. And so, you know, you say a man finds a good thing. So I had to come all the way to Georgia to find her from North Carolina. And so since being with the probation department, I started with the probation department in February of '99. I've held every position in the department, from a regular probation officer to a senior officer to a training officer to a supervisor, until our chief judge, Judge Wayne Purdom, along with the other state court judge, appointed me to this position in 2011. I've been serving in this position ever since. Like I said, we get to serve the citizens and the individuals of DeKalb County and throughout this state. And one of the things I preach and I promote is welcoming in our community and welcome to our office. Our judges are great judges. They're fair. We are custodians of those sentences that those judges hand down in misdemeanor court and state court and traffic division in DeKalb County, and we do not take that lightly. We service 20 plus judges in DeKalb. That consists of 7 state court judges, 10 superior court judges, our 4 traffic division judges, along with our MAD court judges, which is animal control and code enforcement. And we also have a court up at the jail that we service as well. So you can see we have a array of judges that we service, and we do that with 43 staff members. That consists of 36 post-certified officers and the rest admin staff that finish out our day-to-day operations. I'll say my admin staff is our engine that run the department. If they don't run well, we don't run well. Because once the judges hand those sentences down, then that information have to come to our office and be inputted into our system as soon as possible, so we can make sure we can follow the court's order and deem necessary what those judges is asking those individuals to do while they're on probation. One of the biggest things that I foster is communication. And a lot of people got a misconception about what probation does. We're advocates for these individuals that these judges place on probation. That's what it is. It's alternative to jail. Everybody think that because a person is on probation, we are looking to lock individuals up. That's not the case. Our goal is to get these individuals through this probation and change behavior. Our mission for the department is a 3-fold mission statement: serve and protect, provide excellent service to the courts, and impact individual lives positively for those who come before us. And I always say every aspect of the criminal justice system has to play its part. The judges have to play its part with sentence. You got officers, which is police officers that arrest these individuals. Then it goes through the court. You got prosecutors, you got public defenders, then you got probation. One of the biggest thing about us is this: we always impact people. And I say we get one shot every time that individual come in our office, come in our presence. We got one shot to change the behavior of that individual. Now, there are some times that we have to do our job because we are sworn to uphold the courts, uphold the obligation of the state of Georgia laws as well. But overall, our job is to get individuals through and be advocates for individuals when individuals can't do something. But the biggest problem we have is the individuals don't want us to get into their business. But when the court order, that gives us the opportunity to get them through, but to find out not just what they have to do from a court order sentence, but to find out how they live, what we can do, how can we help them get resources in the community, how can we help them find jobs, how can we help them if they got community service, how do we help them to get that based on the work schedule. I always tell individuals, that old fortress probation don't work anymore. Meaning when individuals come into the department, it asks Johnny or Sue and say, hey, did you do community service? Okay, did you pay your fine? We'll see you next month. That don't work anymore. You have to peel back layers. Now you have to go out and do community supervision and find out how people are living, because they are being affected by a lot of stuff in today's society. And not just COVID, but prior to COVID, you may have one person in the house just working. But if we don't know that, and that individual cannot pay or can't do community service or can't do any other court order sentence that obligation that the court asks him to do, then we can't help them not unless they talk to us. So it's more than a notion, and I would say with no uncertain terms, we're very advocate for these individuals. And I think sometimes the individuals, or they tell their parents that probation are hard. They don't want to listen. They don't want to do this. So I make it my best to get the staff to go out in the field and talk to the parents, talk to the community, and let them know that probation is an alternative measure, not locking folks up. If individuals cannot pay, you got alternatives to that. You can do community service. We're going to find you something in your neighborhood, so you don't have to go way across town and try to do community service when you don't have transportation. Just like I know the question going to come up this evening in reference to why probation moved way out to Stonecrest and all that. Well, the thing of it is, with that, that's not under our purview in the county. We're a misdemeanor. And a lot of people don't understand the dynamics of what misdemeanor consisted of in the state of Georgia. And that's consisted of 3 components. You got the Department of Community Supervision, which is the felony department. Then you have your municipality, your governmental, which is what we do, State Court of DeKalb County. Then you have a private sector. So every aspect plays a different part. And with us in DeKalb County, I'm happy to serve as the misdemeanor commissioner with GPACS, which is the Georgia Professional Association of Community Supervision. So I get a chance to work hand in hand with the felony department, Department of Community Service, and the private sector to try to mend these gaps so we all can be on the same sheet of music, so we all can be a one big family, so we can help the individual that's placed on probation from a felony perspective, a misdemeanor, or that private sector in magistrate courts as well with the private sector. One of the things that I'm very, very proud of for our department is that we have 36 dedicated probation officers that go out in the field on times when putting ourselves in harm's way. And when we go out in the field, we don't know what we're going to face. We don't get the phone call, or we don't get the call. We just knock on doors. We don't know what that individual has done, but we take that chance because we're obligated to follow the court's order, to ensure that individual doing what he or she's supposed to do based on what the judges ask them to do, and to make sure we can get them through this and change that mindset. If I can change an individual mind, I can change the end result. And I think that's what we put upon our staff to make sure that when we're talking to these individuals that's placed on probation, is to ensure, ask questions, find out what's going on with them, build that relationship. And you got to keep it professional. But individuals is not going to open up to you until they feel like they could connect to you as a probation officer. And I'm an advocate of that with our mental health population. I shake hands, I hug. I mean, I meet people where they are. I mean, I think that's the way to be. And I think a lot of individuals that come into our department in the courthouse or camp circle office, you'll have a welcome environment. They're gonna smile. They're gonna ask you, how can we help you, and how can we serve? And that's what we do in DeKalb County. But from an internal standpoint, I would say we have a very complex day-to-day operation. And what that consists of is we have 2 divisions, which is state court, but you can see in my background, I have my stoplights up there. That's my traffic court. My daughter and them got that for me when we took over traffic court in 2015. And I'll never forget that because that was a good transition for us. And I see one of my traffic court judges on here, and I'm not just saying this because he's on here. I'm just saying that traffic court is one of our babies because we pretty much transitioned traffic division, which was a recorder court back in 2015. So I really take that under my wings because we had to do that. But our judges over in traffic court, they expect expectations from our standards. And we're not going to lower our standards because I truly believe that when a judge is order the individual to do certain things, it is our responsibility at that point to get that person through that condition that that judge asked them to do or order them to do rather. And that's also on the state court side and in the felony superior court side as well. But just to give you some bullet points to show you the dynamics that we have our domestic violence. We have 3 domestic violence officers that strictly do nothing but domestic violence in DeKalb County. We have 1 officer do nothing but child support. We have 1 officer assigned to our DUI court program. We have the work release program. We have a truancy program. We have a mental health program. We do programs with the Solicitor General's office as well, with their program that they have in their office. So we are stretched a long way. But I said back in 2011, one of my goals was that everybody in DeKalb County will come to the misdemeanor probation department for something and let people know that we truly matter. And what matters to us is to ensure that the citizens are safe and the individuals that the judges place on probation get through probation so we don't have to see them again. And, I'm really, happy about where we are. but we still got a long way to go in the criminal justice system from probation standpoint. With the things that's going on in the community today with COVID, individuals not working now. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge for us as well, because my staff, they're coming down with the COVID virus. So we're working very limited right now, short staff. We have people leaving us, going to different jobs. So it's a challenge across the board for everybody. But my mindset for the last 10 years has always been do more with less. And when we do more with less, if we get a little bit more, it's okay. But we're gonna get the job done if we only got but one person. But we're gonna get the job done the best we know how. But overall, the question that I know you want to, that I know I'd have to address is the move to with the felony department. I sent Ms. Teresa the actual information today to disseminate to the committee and to give you some information. This is the information that was disseminated to us back in June or July of last year in reference to the reason why they were moving. And there are some bus numbers that they utilize that can get individuals closest to them out there. I'm in constant communication with the chief of that department. And my understanding, the reason why they moved from Commerce is they had to move from that building and they moved to Miller Road. Then from Miller Road, they went out to the location they're at now, because that's the district office for the Stone Mountain Circuit. And the information that I sent to Ms. Teresa, if she disseminate that to you, there's a point of contact. If you have any questions on that, reach out to that individual, and she's the chief of that department, and then she can answer any question that you may have in reference to the, why they moved, because a state-ran department and entity of Department of Community Supervision. But overall, that's the only reason why they moved, because I think they had to get out of that building. But other than that, that has no bearing on my office here in DeKalb County. We are located in the courthouse, 556 North McDonough Street, and also on Camp Circle as well. But overall, we are custodians of these cases. We service them the best we know how. And we're here to serve you guys and to get these individuals through, so the citizens of DeKalb can have a fruitful life without having these individuals with recidivism, and try to change that behavior to make it better. But, overall, that's mainly what we do. But I'm open for questions at this time. If you have any, I think that would be more fitting at this time, because I can go on about some of the day-to-day operations, but it's going to get redundant in reference to we're dealing with people. And I always say this, I know we're in COVID and we do these Zooms. That's the best platform, but right now, but we deal with human beings. We don't deal with robots. And the only way to get individuals is to deal with the people. And it's unfortunate that the way COVID is right now, which is Omicron virus, that we can't get closer to these individuals, but that's the way we have to deal with people, to build that relationship with these individuals, to show them that, hey, there's a better way in life. And I'll leave you this before I open up for questions, is every time I tell the staff, if you want to find out a successful person, give this acronym to them, because I truly believe that every day we wake up, we're going to do good. But to be excellent, you got to put some input in. You got to do something. And I always tell them to give them the acronym WIN, because everybody want to win in life. Nobody want to be losers in life. I don't care what nobody, they may say they do, but I don't believe nobody want to be a loser.
That's right.
And we always push win. And I'll tell the individuals, if you think about win, there's consequences to every decision that you have to make, good, bad, or indifferent. So when you have to make a decision, whatever that decision may be, ask yourself, what's important now? How would that affect me now? Mm-hmm. Who will it affect? Because I truly believe if an individual make a decision in one area of their life, because I truly believe as individuals, especially the men, we have to be accountable in our home, in our church, in our community. If we're making bad decisions in one of those areas, it's going to trickle over to another part of that life. And if we can get them to understand, if they can make the best decision they can with what they have in front of them at that present time, I think they can make a better decision. And I think if they can make better decisions, they can be better people and make and be successful in our society. But as you know, sometimes we don't have that. But we have to have that compassion and that love for individuals as well. And that's what we do here in DeKalb County.
Awesome, Mr. Hopkins, thank you so much. I wanted to make sure that everyone knew, if you wanted to have questions, please put them into the chat. And Mr. Hopkins, hopefully you can see the chat from where you are. There are questions that are already in there.
Okay.
You can go to the chat and just start from the top. You can start reading and answering the questions.
All right, let's see. Let me get up here, please. Okay, the first question is, what's the criteria for being on parole opposed to incarceration? Okay, being on parole is once you get a felony sentence and you are sentenced to Department of Corrections. Once you are in the Department of Corrections, then you will have to be paroled. Now, that's different than probation. You can have a split sentence where you can get incarceration, and then you can get out of jail and be on parole. But parole, the difference is you only can be paroled out of prison, which is Department of Correction. And then parole is when you get out of prison, that means that you have a parole officer that's going to oversee you until you finish your conditions, just like a probation officer would. Now, you can have also a split sentence in reference to an individual serving time in the county jail, meaning you can serve 30 days, you can serve 6 months, and that judge said after serving that time, you'll be placed on probation. So that's when you have a probation officer out of the county system or the state system. But if that individual served any time in the Department of Correction, then he will have to be paroled out of the Department of Corrections. That's the difference. But they will also be supervised to make sure that they finish the sentence that the sentencing judge ordered them to do after they complete their time in the Department of Correction. Any questions on that? All right, let's see what the next one is. All right, referring to the mental health perspective, there's special circumstances like psych eval. Yes, depending on the nature of the crime or the sentence that the judge deemed necessary, an individual can be ordered to do a mental health evaluation. And if that's the case, the first thing that we do is to try to communicate with the family. That individual may already have a caseworker or already dealing with the mental health facilities or a caseworker dealing with those individuals. But if not, we will have to set that individual up with a resource in the community and that's closest to them. And we do not direct referral in DeKalb County. We do it based on location. We do it based on the availability that's closer to the individual that's placed on probation and where that person can find the best resources for them. I truly believe when you start direct referring to people and you have so many resources in the community, you're going to miss somebody. And somebody's going to start complaining, saying, you sending Johnny 15 people and you're not sending me enough people. So we do it based on location, and that solves our problem in DeKalb County. But what we do also, if the individual does not comply with that mental health evaluation in a timely fashion, because most of our cases in DeKalb is 12 months. On our domestic violence is pretty much 2 years or more. But we have to make sure that we are supervising this case in a timely fashion. So if that individual is not doing something, or we have to go back and advocate or do a delinquency report to the judge to let the judge know what he or she is doing, we have to give the judge enough time to make another decision if the judge or he or she judge want to make that decision. So what we would do after 30 days, the next available visit to us, if that individual haven't done it, we will look it up for them and give them that information and say, hey, here's 3 locations that's 3-4 blocks away from your home. You got 10 days to go in and talk to these people, at least get the assessment. so we can get you started. But the sooner we get these individuals in treatment, the better help they can get. And so the criteria for mental health is just we outsource our information in the community as quick as we can. Are there any questions in reference to that? I must be doing a pretty good job. All right, let's see here the next question. What is the recidivism rate among DeKalb County probation clients? I would say right now, we haven't looked at it in the last 2 years because our case has been dwindling down because of COVID, and courts have been very slow during the pandemic. But we have our recidivism rate is very low in DeKalb County. I don't have those stats in front of me, but I can get it to you. And that's pre-pandemic rates that we have. And that's one of the things that we pride ourselves on, to try to get these individuals through probation to change their behavior so they do not recidivate again. And so that's one of our tools that we utilize. But I don't have those numbers in front of them, and I don't want to throw a number out and it's wrong. So I want to have the accurate information in front of me before, but I can't get that information to you though.
But those would be two separate numbers, correct? That would be adults versus juvenile.
It will only be adult. We don't deal with juveniles.
Okay.
We adult probation.
Okay.
Okay, are people on probation from DeKalb County having trouble getting to any of the sites? Mr. Parrish, what sites are you referring to? Are you talking about the probation offices?
Yeah, I was talking specifically the site that had moved to Conyers. We had understood that there was a site that was moved to Conyers.
Yeah, that site, I can't give you any stats on that. That's under the state of Georgia with Department of Community Supervision. But I sent Ms. Teresa the flyer with all the information we received with those individuals that will be moving out there. You can contact Chief Dunn and she can get that information. My understanding is that I speak to Assistant Chief Lawson all the time with that office, and they don't have a problem because most of their visits are in the field, collateral field visits, and they don't do office. They don't even go to the office anymore. So they are in the field. So there shouldn't be no problem getting to that site because they do a lot of field work with the felony department. All right, let's see. What kind of training and continuing education probation officers go through? Oh, that's huge. All our officers are post-certified, meaning we send all our folks to 11-week police academy. And that police academy, when individuals leave that police academy, they come back and work for probation. Probation officers police officers can work as a probation officer, but probation can't work as a police officer unless you got the certification. And our continuing education, every year we have to continue get our 20 hours per post mandated hour, and that consists of continuing education, which have to do with mental health, that has something to do with crisis intervention. I'm very proud of this. 100% of my staff are crisis intervention trained, and that's CIT trained. So I'm very proud of that. Very proud of that. But we send folks to felony training, FBI. I try to find free training with the federal government. I try to send staff to that. We do our internal training as well. I'm a certified instructor with the state. I'm a defensive tactics instructor. I have my assistant chief. He's a defensive tactics instructor. I have 2 firearm instructors and have 1 female general instructor. So we do our own internal training as well through the state as well. But we also send folks to different conferences as well, which I'm sending 8 folks next month to the Georgia Professional Association of Community Supervision training as well. And they get continuing education through that association as well. And every year myself have to have 20 executive hours training as well, along with my 20 hours. So every year, the average hour we get per staff is probably 35 to 40 hours per year. So we're above the normal standard for posts with 20 hours. So our continuing education is we push training in our department. All right, let's see. The next question is Ms. Hopkins. You're over misdemeanor probation, correct? Yes, I'm over probation. This is different from felony probation. Please explain the difference. Yes. Okay, there's a difference with felony and misdemeanor. Misdemeanor is a 12-month sentence up to $1,000 fine. A felony is anything above that. That's your high and aggravated, it's deadly sin, murder, rape. You can, it's less than anything less than 12 months. That's a felony, okay? And felony is supervised by the felony department, which is the state, which is the Department of Community Supervision. We are very fortunate because we get to serve the Superior Court judges, and we also get felony cases that's reduced down to a misdemeanor in felony court, which we don't send those cases to our state court. We still have to send those misdemeanor cases back up to our Superior Court judges. So the difference is anything over 12 months is a felony. Okay. Any questions on that? All right, next question. What do you need from the NAACP? That's a good question. I would say what I need is for the NAACP, when individuals bring you questions or concerns, please direct those to me, because I like to be that liaison where I can explain it so we can educate our community. And I think that's one of the biggest problems that we have. Our community is not educated on the criminal justice system, especially our parents. When we go out and knock on doors to check on individuals, we talk to parents, we talk to family members, and let them know that, hey, this is how the system works. And I always tell people that the way to change is to know how the system works. And if you know how the system works, then you don't have to get into the system by making good decisions. So what I need, if y'all have any questions or concerns, you have my information. Bombard me with it. My doors are open. Call me. I'll answer the questions best I know how. And if I don't know it, I'll tell you I don't know it, but I'll get you the answer. But I've been in the business little over about 20 going on 23. Next month be 20 going on 24 years next month. And so I think I have a little knowledge in the business, but I'm still learning every day because things change every day. So that's what I need. I want to give you good information, because the better information you have, the more better information you can provide to the individual that come in contact with you guys. Okay. Any questions? All right. Let's see. Let's go to the next one. How does your department find community service opportunity? Boy, that's a good one right there. One of my biggest components is community service. Our process is, right now, we probably have close to, I'll say 200 plus agencies out there that's approved by our state court judge. And we have a process on getting individuals certified. And our process is that the entity have to provide us, we'll provide them with an application. They got to provide with their 503C status. They got to provide us with references. They have to provide us with their state LLC, if they're LLC, and they have to provide us with a good address. And what we do, we just don't take their face value. We research it. We go out and knock on it. We look and see, because one of the things that we found early on was this. Individuals can have LLCs and have it at their house. And people think that, well, hey, I can do it. I can have individuals, but I say, no, that's not safe. I'm not going to send anybody to your house and something happened to you and they kidnap you, they kill your family, and then we're responsible for that. No, you can't do that. And so we go out, we take pictures. I have 2 community service coordinators that's good at what they do. And I always tell them, community service will not get us in DeKalb County. We're going to do our due diligence. We're going to research it, and we're going to send it to our state chief judge for his signature and mine as well. I will not sign off on it if it's not legitimate, and I will not send it to him. But from a governmental standpoint, we partner with the different municipalities in the state of Georgia. If you a government agency, fire department, police department or Parks and Rec, then I have the authority myself, government given to me by the chief judge, that, hey, I don't have to send that application to him because they are a government agency. And we just go through the process, an application process, and I can sign off, and then we'll put that in agency on our books. But if it's not on our books, that individual cannot do it there. The reason being is this: if an individual goes to a community service agency and something happens and we don't know about it, then we held responsible for that. And I'm not going to be held responsible for that. That's why we tell individuals, do not do community service, not unless an officer direct you to do so. And we have waiver forms, we have community service assignment sheets that they have to sign. So if something goes wrong, we have documentation to let the courts know that this is our process and we're not going to deviate from this process. And that and community service has worked very well with us. But right now we have probably 200 plus agencies that individuals can do community service at. But now there's also provision also with the judges as well. If a judge ordered that individual to go to a certain agency, then, and it's on that court order, that individual can go there. We follow the court's order. So that's another caveat, that I don't have to get that approved because the judge already ordered that on the court order. So that does happen at times as well. So, but other than that, our community service is airtight. If it's not done legitimately, we do not send them there. So, all right, let's see. What kind of research does your department do on probation population? Well, what we try to do, we keep a database in our case management system, and we only deal with individuals that's court ordered. So what we do, I don't know who has a felony. We just don't run background checks. Now, we have misdemeanor cases that have felony probation at the same time. But by law, we just can't run an individual's background to see what that individual has on his or her background. You can get in trouble for that. So, but we do ask questions on our case history sheet, which is our P1. And that individual, are you currently on felony probation? Are you on probation somewhere else? That gives us that information. But we only deal with the population of people that's been court ordered to us. We just don't go out and just research. We got 50 people on probation, felony probation, and done with it. We don't do that. We only concentrate more on the individuals that's been placed on probation through our state court judges and superior court judges, because we have a small window to get individuals to come in and do what he or she's supposed to do, because only a 12-month sentence. By the time we get those individuals in for the first visit, and by the time they come back, 60 days gone already. And if that individual hadn't done anything, then we have to do our due diligence at that point in time to get that case back to that court. So we don't go out and research how many folks on probation, but I can tell you how many folks on probation under my supervision, but I can't tell you how many folks is on probation in the state of Georgia. Now, we do have access to that with our Department of Community Supervision, because each month we have to send documents to the state and let them know how many folks we do have on probation. And if that research is collected through the state of Georgia. All right, let's see. Do you know what percentage of probation probably first got in trouble with schools and juvenile? We do not. We do not. The only way we know that, if a lot of times juvenile cases are sealed, so they don't, that information is not on their background check. So we don't have that information, not unless when we are sitting down interviewing those individuals and they voluntarily give us that information. We pry down to see, peel back the layers to see if he or she has been had some issues as a juvenile. So we only deal with them as the adult age, and at that time, that's when we do our background checks, when we can determine if that individual had issues during that time, not unless a family member come in and advise us, because we do not communicate with juvenile probation in reference that because of confidentiality in reference to their juvenile records. All right. Let's see here. Question. Thank you, Mr. Hopkins. In regards to state pay today expungement, are they only approved by sentencing judge? What happens to the applicant requested the judge have retired? Okay. All right. In reference to expungement, there's a two process to expungements. There's a first offender discharge. That first offender discharge is generated through probation department. And what that does, if that individual has a first offender discharge, then once he or she completes his or her probation, then it's up to us to provide a first offender discharge. We do a background check on those individuals. We'll submit their first offender discharge and let the judge know that he or she can be granted that expungement based on them completing their conditions of probation. If that sentencing judge has retired, then we will send it to the same division that sentence had was sentenced out of. If it's out of Division 1 and that judge is retired, then we'll send it back to that Division 1 judge, whoever that who is assigned to that division. Just say for individuals who didn't get first offender discharge and they want to go to expungement, there's a process for that as well. We advise them that they need to go to the arresting agency, whatever that agency is, and ask for an expungement officer. And the officer you have to have a collaboration application process with the arresting agency filling it out. That information is sent over to the agency that prosecuted that case, and then the application is forwarded on to the GBI. And both of those entities agree to that. Then the GBI makes the final decision on that. And so there's a process in there, and that fee, my mind served me correctly, was a $25 fee. Don't quote me on that. It may have went down, it may have went up, but I know it was a $25 fee to get that expunge. And sometimes we have expungement packages in our office, and we'll give that expungement package to that individual and direct them to go to the arresting agency to get that process started. All right. Any questions on that? All right. What is your familiarity with restorative justice? I would say restorative, we have to restore. I mean, we have to pour back, in my opinion, to rejuvenate individual confidence in making the right decisions in reference to if they feel as though that they was not done correct, or they didn't get justice in a fashion that they felt like they done. I always tell folks, get an attorney and file those documents back to the court. With my personal opinion and my professional opinion is two different things, because my professional opinion is what I have to do to sentence by obligation of the court based on what that judge has rendered down. Now, from a personal opinion, I would say, hey, go back, get you an attorney, and then see if they can, restore some of your justice in reference to the way you feel like you was done wrong. Now, if we do something wrong from a probation standpoint, I will acknowledge that. I will say we made a bad decision, we did it wrong. Can we make this right? And we will go to the judge and ask that judge and humble ourselves before that court and say, Judge, we made that bad decision, and the person shouldn't have been adjudicated this way. So from a restorative justice perspective, I believe if a person is right, that person is right. And I'll tell anybody this. If a defendant is right, I will side on the side of that defendant if that defendant is right. There's been many times that when my officer come in my office and do something and the defendant doesn't deserve it, no, we're not going to do that. If my officer is wrong, the officer is wrong. And if that defendant is right, defendant is right. I go on the side of right. And at the end of the day, I have to, live with my moral compass to make sure I'm doing what's right and what's fair, to make sure we're doing what the court asks us to do, and to make sure that we're treating these individuals with respect and with the justice that they well deserve. So that's my position on that in reference to that. All right, let's see. I have 4 email from now to Teresa to the list for this committee. All right. Okay. Did I understand you to say domestic violence falls under misdemeanor? Yes, it does. We have a very active domestic violence unit. We have one of the very few domestic violence units in the state, in the misdemeanor courts in the state of Georgia. We're very active. We're active with our task force here in DeKalb County as well. We make sure that individuals that's been placed on probation for domestic violence, that they get in these classes within the first 15 to 20 days. The sooner they get in class, the better off they can get information to make better decisions, so they won't put their hands on the individual that they put their hands on. We go out and we talk to victims in these cases. Sometimes we have to go out and try to protect these victims in these cases. We also have to communicate with the Solicitor General's office to try to get victims out of certain cases, out of the purview of individuals. So, but a lot of times it's very difficult sometimes, because when individuals that's placed on probation for domestic violence, they still have, the victim still communicates with the individual. And we try to tell them, hey, even though that victim can communicate to you, you can't communicate to them. And so we draw a fine line and make sure we protect our victims in our cases with domestic violence. And we make sure that these individuals in class, if they're not in class, we get them back in the court system as quick as we can, so the judges can make a decision on what he or she would like to do with that individual, to give them another chance to get in class, or to put them in custody for a period of time to get his attention, to say, hey, you committed this domestic violence, you need to get in the class and learn better ways to make decisions when you're dealing with your partner. All right, let's see. Some probation have to take classes there. If I'm reading this correct, if some probation have to take classes there, yes, there's a 24-week domestic violence class. And that's not by my standard, that's by the state standard, by the DHR reference to a 24-week mandated domestic violence course. So yes, they have 24 classes to do, and they have to meet those criteria, and they cannot get a certificate of completion not unless all the fees is paid in reference to that. Now, there are some agencies out here which we can't mandate that because it's state ran. They have, for those individuals who less fortunate to pay for these classes, they do have scholarships. They do have a sliding scale for those individuals as well to get in these classes. And also sometimes we do talk to the providers if we deem necessary, if we do a income affidavit with those agencies to see that the individual just cannot pay. What we would do is, if that individual, if the court asks, is ordered to pay supervision fees, we go to the court and ask the court to waive those supervision fees, because we'd rather that money go towards the domestic violence class than to go to us as a probation overseeing this, because we want to see this individual in those classes to make better decisions when he come out of those classes, so he don't get caught up in those situations again. But that's just a recommendation that we do to the courts, and the court have to make that decision based on our recommendation. That's up to the judge to do that in reference to waiving those fees. But from my perspective, I'd rather waive those fees so that individuals don't have to pay that. I'd rather him pay for that class, because that class is more important to me than paying supervision fees. Let's see. Do you offer community meeting for education? Yes. Anytime anyone would like for me to come out, I enjoy educating and talking about probation. I want the community to understand the parameters of probation, because I think sometimes probation get a raw deal sometimes, but that's a part of it. But I think the more educated we can get to the community and let them know that we are here as advocates to get individuals through probation. We're not here to lock folks up, but that's a part of the job. Okay, that's not our first priority, because we look at one thing: the court placed that individual on probation for a reason. That judge deemed necessary to make that decision, and it's for us to carry out that decision for that judge to get them through probation. But those individuals that don't get through, then we have an obligation to that court as well to let the court know what that individual has done or what she has done, to let them know, you get that judge an opportunity to do or make another decision on what they would like to do with that individual. But our goal is to get people through probation, to change behavior, to make them better, impact their lives the best we know how, so they can be better citizens out here. All right, let's see. Let me keep going. Let's see. If your department had a larger budget, what would you do to produce better outcomes for probation in the community? Hire more staff. More staff. I would say one question that our COO of the county, I met with him when he first started. Zach Wilson, Zach, got to him, I don't know. Excuse me, I know Zach looking at me now. Lord have mercy.
Is
But
that
I see
Willie?
it. Yeah, Williams. Yeah, Williams. No, he gonna jump all over me. But he asked me, he said, if you had a magic wand and that magic wand was small, what would you do with it? I said, I will only do one thing with it, to let everybody know that probation matters, that we really matter. And we got a stake in the game to our shareholders, to the county, that we can come and do our job and do it to the best of our ability to protect the citizens of the county and to change these individual lives so they don't have to deal with somebody kicking in their door the next night. And that's what I preach upon, I stand upon. So if I had a bigger budget, give me more staff, because on the average prior to this pandemic, we had about 14,000 cases with 36 officers. So you can see there's a lot of people on probation, okay? But the pandemic has dwindled those cases down, but guess what? The floodgates will open again when we get on the other side and learn how to live with this pandemic and with this virus. So it's gonna open back up. It's starting to move a little bit, but I would say with no uncertain return, our stakeholders, our CEO, our judges have done an outstanding job on how we maneuver through this pandemic to where we are today. So I can see the floodgates opening back up at some point in time, because there are still cases out there that got to be pushed down with the Solicitor General and the DA's office as well. So at some point in time, we'll be getting more folks on probation. All right, let's see here. Thanks for
Mr. Watkins, on that question where you're saying there's 14,000 cases. So
that
how many?
That was prior to pandemic,
Yeah.
Okay.
But on average for your staff, how many cases are they, how far is the assignment out?
The average caseload on a normal case, normal runs about 275 to 375, 400 cases per officer. Wow. Now, in our traffic division, it's a little bit higher, because, I have one officer per division, which is 4 divisions. And then I have to have case managers as well. There's a difference between caseload and workload. Okay, there's a major difference. I think a lot of people don't understand that. A caseload is about 375, but a workload is about 800, because we have to do our due diligence in supervising these cases. We just can't arbitrarily just send a report to the judge. We have to do something. If an individual is not reporting to us, before we can do anything, we have steps that we have to take by law to communicate to these individuals. One is we got to make a phone call, we got to send a letter of intent, we have to send an email, and then we got to follow up with another phone call to get in contact with these individuals before we send anything to the judge. So that's a time parameter there. And when we send our letter of intent, and what that letter of intent is saying, hey, we haven't heard from you, you hadn't reported like we asked you to, within the next 15 days, I need you to come in to make this right, so we can sit down and give you an action plan to continue on your probation. So when we send that letter out, we have to send it out 15 days. We got to put 15 days out, because when we send mail out, the mail don't go out directly. It go to the county, then it go to the board, then it go out. So it normally by law is 10 days, but we give 15 days for that time. So there's a whole month, almost a month gone right there in reference to our steps that we have to take by law to even send a court documents to the court to try to toll that order. But what we do, we can send a DR to the court without tolling that case and letting the court know. That's a short window, and just letting the judge know what he or she has done. And then, but at the same time, the case is still running. And a lot of time when we send cases like that, if an individual, just say if a judge issue a warrant on an individual when a case is not told, that case has got a warrant, but say the individual out of the state, we're not going to extradite them on a misdemeanor case. Guess what happened? That case is running, even though the warrant's out there, it's going to expire with a warrant. So we got to recall that warrant when that case is over with. So there's a lot of dynamics in reference to how our procedures and processes work to send information over to the court. And that's another part about educating our staff on how those processes work as well. Now, I do have one officer which is our child support, she have over 1,200 cases, in which a lot of those cases, child support cases, got to keep in mind, once the individual has been placed on suspended sentence, they're not on probation, but probation monitor the suspended sentence. So we have to do that's a whole nother process in reference to a rule NAACP, which is a show cause hearing to let the court know that individual is not paying their child support like he or she's supposed to. So we have to do the same process to send the information over to the court, but we have that case till the child reaches the age of 18 or until that 12 months is over with. And a lot of times when we send those documents over to the court, the judge may say, okay, we're gonna revoke 30 days. So after 30 days, we got what, 11 months left. So we going back and forth in the court like that until that 12 months over. So we try not to exhaust all that time right away because we got to deal with that person till the child 18. So what we try to do is buy a little time, change that individual's behavior, because a lot of time it's not about the child, it's not about the child support, it's about the relationship they got with the mom and daddy. So we got to break all that down. So when we get them to understand that it's not about you and her, it's about their child, when they realize that and they start paying, even though they may not pay $300, they may pay $75. But that's more than what they were paying prior to. So it's a step-by-step process on how to change the mindset of our men and women taking care of our kids out here. But I have a child support officer that do an outstanding job with those cases, and she's very compassionate about doing that and talking to those individuals. And we have a relationship with the state as well with child support, which is on the civil side as well. That's another process in reference to how we calculate child support as well. So
Mr. Hopkins,
yes,
just before you go on, in appreciation for your time and the rest of ours, let's just have one more question answered. And then the rest of them, if there are questions that are needed, we know how to get in contact with you to raise those questions. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Let me see. I'm trying to find a good one. All right, Brad. Okay. All right, let me go with this one right here. Is that just the caseload on misdemeanor probation side? Because felony probation would be a different number, correct? Yes, that is correct. What I'm speaking of is all the cases that we have on misdemeanor. Yes, and that's including our traffic division as well, with animal control, code enforcement as well. Yes, that concludes. The only thing we talk about is the misdemeanor side. Yes.
Awesome.
But that was the last question, and Ms. Teresa, everybody, I thank y'all so much for indulging me this evening. And like I said, the thing I need from you guys is this: if y'all have a question, no matter what it is, feel free to contact me. Ms. Teresa got my email address, my telephone number. When you call my landline, my county cell phone rings. I answer my phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. On Sunday nights, 2 o'clock, I answer the defendants at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I'm very passionate about what we do to make sure that we follow and service our courts and help protect our citizens in DeKalb County so we can have a vibrant community in DeKalb County. So if I can do anything, please don't hesitate. I'm available to you to serve you guys.
All right,
Awesome.
appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Hopkins. A lot of good information that you've shared. And as you can see, there's a lot of people in the chat. Just wanted to say thank you for being here and for the things that you say we can do. We're going to try to do our best to make sure we get questions answered and also see what we can do to help out your division and your department. Thanks again for your hard work and your service to this community. We really do appreciate it.
My pleasure, sir. It's my pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you kindly. Now, if you wanted to go ahead and take off, that's fine. So Ms. Teresa, do you have anything else for the group tonight?
Yeah, one thing